my relationship with my parents is the center of my confidence. It's like, because people would say, oh, your skin is so black,
Yes.
or criticize me about my appearance as if
Yes.
it was a negative thing here
Yes.
here growing up in the US.
Yes.
And I'm like, what is wrong with you? My dad told me I'm beautiful. And it was that definitive for me.
Yeah. I know there's a billion things you know that I don't know. Pick one out of your bucket. Tell me something you think I don't know, and I'll see whether I'll admit to it or not.
Hmm. Uh, I'm like, this is hard.
Yeah, come on, you know a lot that I don't know. So, you know, I'll let you take care of this.
Hmm. Um, how many members are there in Wu-Tang Clan?
Is Wu-Tang not four? You like Wu-Tang like that? It's four members.
I don't. There's more than four.
You know what? Was Flavor Flav Wu-Tang?
Definitely not.
What was that? What? Flavor Flav is not Wu-Tang. What is he?
No, he's a
Is
different
it?
generation altogether.
Oh, that
So
tells you how much.
he
Oh, is
was
it? Did them Method Man? What was that? That was
okay. So
Method
Method
Man's.
Man, yes, he was in Wu
Oh,
Tang.
good. I got one.
Yeah, RZA, Jizza, Old Dirty Bastard.
Oh, yeah, I
So
know ODB.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't even say that I'm a hip hop head. I don't even know why
Yeah.
that came to mind, but I figured I would hit you with that one to show how African you are. Because
I know.
unless you grew up in
Exactly.
New York,
Exactly. I
there's no
only
way.
know of Wu-Tang. I know ODB. I know Method Man, obviously. But
Mm.
if you tell me, to give you two, three Wu-Tang songs, unless they come on, it wouldn't just be naturally coming to my head. You know.
Flavor Flav was in a group that was a
I know.
duo.
Something.
I can't even remember it now. Yeah, yeah, randomly.
I see what you did that there to me. Like I think that will perfectly take us to this next segment where,
Sure.
like just as Africans, coming to this country, different ages, right? And trying to figure out where we live whilst we connect to home. Part of what STEM2Roots is doing or trying to do is figure out a way, to still connect and be of benefit, of value, of help back home. And when I say help, Africa, as soon as you say help, the focus is on humanitarian and being somebody that is charitable. That's not the help that I'm talking about. Figuring out a way, to bring the outside in, to add value to home. That's what we're trying to discuss here, so that we will bounce off ideas and trying to share and spread. Whatever somebody is doing in Gambia might be something that is not yet done, on the northern part or the southern part or Central Africa. Somebody can hear you today and actually, think about doing something similar. You did talk about being a business woman here in America, connected to home. I don't know what that part is, that level of a businesswoman. I want to hear about it. And at the same time, I also want to know whether there's anything you have for anybody who is here and trying to be of value at home and they can't be there in person. Because you've experienced it, you've seen your parents navigate that world. What have you seen on that side of just Africans living outside of home?
So I think that the so as a businesswoman, I
Yes.
have had several businesses which I have shuttered, but probably most recently is consulting. I have been a consultant. But other than consulting for businesses, I owned a hair business where my customers were global.
Mm.
I stopped that business to focus on my current stint in banking,
Hmm.
primarily because trying to be an entrepreneur in two countries got to be
Yes.
very difficult for me. Because I need something with low overhead, and then you have dependencies that could sink said business, like the people in Gambia or in this other country that you're working with, and then just different things that you have to think about, like pricing
Mm-hmm.
and issues like that, and demand. But I would say that the way that I help other businesses that I see coming up is in
Yes.
the formalities and technicalities,
Mm-hmm.
like registering your business, getting
Yes.
a tax ID, filing your taxes, having
Mm-hmm.
your business plan,
Yes.
your operating agreement.
Right.
So just some of those formal business elements that people are not familiar with oftentimes if they're from Gambia trying to do business there, because my observation of business in Gambia generally is people do standard things. They purchase something and they sell it, but
That's
they
it.
struggle with how to scale that. Even if you want to do
Mm.
it, like how do you go from one-off mom and pop to being a large corporation or an organization, and how do
Yes.
you scale
Mm.
that?
Mm.
Um, and that requires some trust. That requires people who are trustworthy, and of course, that's something that we struggle with there. Our corruption knows no bounds, and to
Mm.
where it's of detriment to us.
Mm.
Um, with our large scale success. So I have an uncle that owned several video stores in Gambia,
Okay.
owned cell phone stores in the U.S. He went back to Gambia full time, and he was running some shoe stores in Gambia. Had to shutter those businesses. So he's what you call a lifetime entrepreneur, and
Mm.
at the moment, I think he's in lumber business.
Mm.
Um, but even that, he has had to take outside of the country and work in Guinea and live in Gambia. So I've always thought about that the difficulties
Those
of
challenges,
doing
yeah.
business. Yeah, the challenges of uh, like there's an incredible amount of money flowing through
Yes.
the country,
True. Yeah. Yeah.
but still, like the demographics with respect to poverty there are
Yes.
crazy,
Yes.
considering how much money is flowing through in there.
Yes.
And I think a lot of it is because they're consumers before anything else,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we we are hurting in the education space,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just standard education, but just business education and
Yeah.
learning how to operate and infrastructure.
Yes.
But that could be the
Yes.
story of Africa.
Yes.
How could there be so much wealth,
Yes.
so much money,
Yes.
and still basic needs are difficult to meet? And
Yes.
in order for me to go to my comfortable existence, I have
Yes.
to walk past
Yes.
potholes and
Yes.
people not
Yes.
having standard things like toilets
Right. Right.
or electricity.
Right. Why?
I'm going
Why
to
in
Gambia
this day
next
and
week,
age? Yes. Mm.
so I'll see. I'll have an update.
Yes, and that update, I'm an optimist. You know that. I'd like to hope, because that's the only thing to live by. I don't like that.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping, but the progression of that hope that I have in actually getting there, getting this update where something improved. Even if you give me that feedback that something improved, I will know it improved by a rate that I don't want to accept.
Right.
You just mentioned, things in Gambia, in Africa. This is an African problem. I was able to visit Zimbabwe, last year September. It's an African problem. I went by South Africa.
Mm,
It's an African problem. I lived in Dakar. It's an African problem. Where
yeah.
you can invest in making something comfortable for yourself, but there's something beyond you just building that place, right? That's comfortable for yourself. Governments and institutions are out there that are responsible for, the masses, right? Infrastructure wise, you can't be the one to build a road. Where are you building it to connect to where? Right? So these are responsibilities that you can't put on the people. It has to be governance. It has to be like kind of like the management of resources, right? In Africa,
Mhm.
we have this issue where nothing is managed right. In a general sense, nothing is managed right, and so when you go to every African country, you can see that the wealth that is potentially, circulating there, or that should be that nation's wealth, is not translating in anything that you're looking at.
Right.
And that is the sad part. So like, here you are, you just gave an example of the fact that you're about to go home again. That's how often you go, that's how often you're connected. You're a businesswoman, you go, you see potential in what you can bring from the outside in, and then you face challenges that make you go, but. And as soon as you go,
Yeah.
but, you hold back again, waiting for somebody to fix something in order for you to be able to do what it is that you need to do. So let's say if your business idea or this way of helping the masses in the form of entrepreneurship is going to require a certain level of logistics, that is beyond what you should be doing. And so if you sit back to wait for the government to fix the roads to this place that you want to either supply a product or a service, then you're stuck waiting with no time limit of when that's going to change. And it's
And
stifling
utilities.
It's stifling what the diaspora has as far as what they want to do at home. It's
Yeah.
stifling all of that because everybody's just waiting. Oh, if such and such changes, I'm able to do this. And you can tell them,
Yeah.
no, you can't wait for that. You can't wait for that. I'll give you an example of Dr. Ismail Badu, who formed the level of healthcare that he's delivering in Gambia now, Innovarex, and we have an episode,
Yeah.
that's coming soon.
Yeah.
I
happen to know him, so yeah.
Oh, great guy. So I spoke to him. His episode is coming soon.
Excellent.
Yeah, where he spoke about, and not in our conversation, but I heard him talk about how in just building Innovarex, it had to come with the entire cycle of delivering different things within the healthcare system in order to make it whole. Because if you focus on just one thing, I'm going to just pick a side of it and present that, and it's dependent on, let's say, a quality doctor. If he's a pharmacist and he has to depend on a quality doctor, he has to find a way to have those quality doctors be part of that cycle. If he has to, because his bread and butter is pharmacy, for you, that's your world, your dad has done that, right? It is to deliver medicine. He has to figure out the logistics of how quality medicine will come to the Gambia. So now, as a pharmacist, now he's thinking about the entire logistics of how that will get to Gambia. So he connected 4 different things that form this circle of excellence and delivering what it is he's trying to do, that some of them are outside of what he should be focused in if he was here in America. So he can't even contract that to somebody else that will deliver the level of, competence that he's expecting from, somebody who he will connect to what he's trying to do. And these are the challenges we face. How
the palms that you have to grease, the backs that you have to pat, the babies you have to kiss to get simple things done. Like if you import there and you, at every point along your way, you have to deal with those challenges. Like when his product lands in customs, you have to deal with bribing customs.
If he wants it fast.
You have, right. Yeah. So it's challenging.
It's an African challenge. That's why, when I give examples of Gambia, I keep repeating this. It's because it's Gambia that I'm closer to in knowing, but it's an African problem. And those are the kind of things that we are trying to fight and change and actually bring to light, so that as far as thinking about solutions in a broad sense, platforms like this, if I bring somebody today who is from another side of Africa and he presents a solution or he presents a way that they've navigated that or changed something, I want to be able to spread that as wide as possible so that somebody else will hear it and try the same thing, right? And that is part of why we want to uncover it. Like I was telling him, some of these things I uncover, I don't even get to the solution part because, that will come. I want to make sure it's in the light, An example you just gave is I'm a fan of Rachel Maddow, MSNBC, Rachel Maddow.
Yes,
she wrote
definitely.
This book. She wrote this book, Blowout, about the oil business. One of the only books that I read, because I do audio more than reading. So I read Blowout, and in Blowout, she said that these oil tycoons, the Exxons and all these big oil tycoons actually said, without hiding it, they prefer doing business in Africa because you just pick the head, focus on the head and just target them as the person that you'll give the gifts to. As
Mhm.
soon as they gift that person at the top, everything else works, because you can always mention the head. Always mention the head. Oh, the head said we should do this. The head said open the port. The head said it's okay. And nobody under that head there says, oh, no, 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 I'm going to do the right thing. I'm not going to open that door, because already they've taken care of the head. And that's why they love Africa. That was the most depressing thing to hear, in how Africa is
Yeah.
labeled, and that's what we're suffering. When is that going to
But we
change?
it's I mean, it starts with us. Like we have to have an attitude that we can change that. Rather, someone has to take up that mantle. So, it's my hope that we are the generation who has had enough vision, who
Yes.
has seen enough and experienced enough to
Yes.
leverage all that is good about the place that is our ancestral home,
Mm-hmm.
and leverage what we learn here to make a new experience for
Mm,
ourselves.
mm, mm,
You
mm,
know,
mm.
and so
Eh,
I that's always my goal and my hope. I am taking all my kids to Gambia, and I keep trying to instill that in them so that they can gain the things that I think have been so beneficial to me
right.
there
Mm,
within them,
mm.
but also get them comfortable with maybe this is a place I can live.
Oh, I like how you
Because
put that.
my parents left to make a better life, to get an education, to have means, because that wasn't available for them. But we have a different path we can choose now because we have the
Oh,
education,
I
we
like
have
that.
the financial means.
I like that.
So as I see people from the diaspora who are American born and raised go and settle there and make a living,
Yes,
it makes me ponder that and question that. Is this something I can do? And how would it be feasible, and what would it look like?
I
I
like
have
that.
a hard sell for my American born husband, but it's my goal that at some point is something that we could consider as a
We'll
family.
figure it out. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I like how you put that as we conclude, because if we have the advantage of having Africa as a viable option, and we don't take advantage of seeing it, knowing, like you said, taking your kids young for them to see, hey, here's another option for you. The world is yours. Here's another option for you. Know it, figure it out, ask questions, see how things are done, see how the society is, and like smell the air, whatever it is, and then come back to America, see what that is. And if at any point in your life you choose to, say, I'll live here, whether it's the rest of your life or for some time, being able to see that option and opening it up to them is something that we have in our hands and we have control of. And you doing that, just again, it's an additional thing to whoever knows you're a thinker, and you see things differently, because you could have chosen, you could have looked at your kids and say, the American kids, America has, quote unquote, everything they will ever need. But you're seeing that that's not entirely factual, because there's something that they can get more from the source than you just trying to instill it in them.
Yeah.
So and that's what I'm hoping I'll also be able to do for my young family. They've not seen Gambia yet, but they were able to go to the southern side, and I hope it's something that financially I'm able to do as often enough so that they won't be lost in it. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be something that I teach them. It's something that they will experience. Just
Right.
go and say, hey, there it is. I don't need to explain. Ask the questions to somebody else, rather than maybe my bias stance as far as I view the world. And
Experience is the
I'm
best
glad you're doing
teacher.
that. Hmm. And how are the kids embracing it? Because the reason why I'm asking it that way is, I remember when we went, Malika, the oldest one, 4 years old, first time in Africa, different world for a 4-year old's brain. So
Hmm.
I'm watching him play with a kid, who born and raised in Zimbabwe over there, like working for my in-laws. A young kid that he was playing with, But at that age, you could see a difference in, the little girl's know-how, like what she knows, what she doesn't know, her comfort level. Because he brings his toys out. The kid came with like a handmade wired kind of car, right, made by the
Yeah,
dad, so that you can drag this around. And he was more interested in the kid's toy and
of
wanted that.
course.
And he had all these cars that actually had that are doing things, So I'm watching that dynamic. I'm watching how his curiosity in this kid that will be labeled not having, and him wanting what the kid otherwise people will see as not having. And as a parent, that is all about the learning more than that material object. What is he
Yeah.
learning from it? So I enjoyed watching stuff like that happen. I
Mhm.
enjoyed, putting breakfast out there for them. And he had the sliced bread and all the typical American breakfast. And the kid sat there, started eating, but was not too interested in that. It's not she didn't care about the cheese and inside the bread. Like, she didn't care about all of that, taste buds and stuff. And Malika was observing how the kid, after a couple of bites, that was not what they wanted.
Yeah.
And watching that was so satisfying in saying, I would want my kid to continue learning that. What have
Oh
you
yeah.
observed with your kids, as
So
they see this different world and gain knowledge that their friends can't gain by not being there?
yeah, well, my I have four kids, so
Mm,
they're 20, 22, 13, 5, and
mm,
2.
mm,
And the 2-year-old and the 5-year-old spend a lot of time with my mother, their
yeah,
grandmother.
yeah.
So we always joke that they're Karninka kids, and if they get a bone like a oxtail bone,
Oh, they'll
they
take care
won't.
of it.
Yeah, even at a 2-year-old, she's like, it's not gonna be done, and she loves eating like this thing we have kichat
Yeah,
and hatat and
yeah,
some plain rice and
yes, yes,
so that part I'm like, you're gonna do fine. But
yes,
yes, they are easily entertained and they
yes,
enjoy other
yes,
kids' company. So
yes,
it's an exciting thing for them, for me, for them, because of the freedom. I
yes,
don't have to say, don't run in the street, don't do this.
yes,
I know that they're about to experience a freedom that they have never experienced in
yes,
their entire lives here.
yes,
Much like my 22-year-old went to Gambia a year before last or last year, and had a similar experience. And
yes,
so she's excited about going back now. And it's like she never knew that freedom to go out to the club at her 22 years old
yes,
and come in, walking home when the sun comes up, walking
yes,
outside and seeing moonlight with no street lights.
yes,
You know, it
yes,
was a wonder for her. And she got
yes,
to experience village life
yes,
and city in
yes,
within
yes,
Gambia.
yes,
And
yes,
so she just left in love with her country, with her background, and that pride, renewed in her. Like,
yes.
yes, I'm a Karaninka. I'm a
Oh,
grandchild of Hilul.
yes,
So
yes, yes,
it was
yes.
beautiful, and so I look forward for that experience for my children as well.
I
It's
can.
going to be the trip of a lifetime, and it always is for them. And the beauty of it is they only doing it for a short time, so they get.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yes,
our
yes,
children are lucky in that way. They don't get to experience the adversity
yes,
that
yes.
is also a
Right.
reality of that
Hmm.
existence.
Right.
My
Right.
parents had one
Right.
shoe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, my
Mm-hmm.
mom was a maid.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's like, I think that's what I want them to understand. Like, we are both those people.
Yes.
And there's no
Oh. Oh
shame.
my God, that's so good.
There's no shame in
Yes.
poverty as it
Oh.
is.
Oh,
There's
that's
no
so good.
shame in our illiteracy.
That's so good.
We are still great, powerful, wonderful people.
Yes.
Our
Yes.
great grandparents are, irrespective of the material wealth, the education, and the success that we
That's
learn
so
in the
good.
West is
Yes.
what defines who you are.
Yes. That's so
Yeah.
profound. That's so profound. It's such a for our kids. It's such a yardstick of not only where we're from, but being able to actually measure, quantify, be able to see. Okay, my parents came from this. Taking them to the village and seeing that, oh, your grandpa was here with one pair of shoes that he can only wear on occasions, because if it's just to go play, it has to be bare feet.
Yeah.
And the kid confused by how that's even possible, because in your garage alone they have 5 pairs that they don't touch. Under the bed, they have 10 pairs that they
Right.
don't touch. And
We live
then,
in excess here.
right, so
We can't even
so
imagine.
can't even imagine. But now you're putting that in their heads and they're trying to now figure it out, because this is not a story. This is grandpa right here, this guy. So being able to like teach them that, I feel like already they have an advantage in being in a society where they know a world that the people that they're sitting with don't know, because it's an advantage that I've taken. It's an edge that I've taken advantage of, and I feel like I've been in many situations that didn't faze me too much, that I've been able to survive and overcome, because I go like, if this is a problem right here, my dad told me when he had to carry whatever on his head for miles and bare feet, and the sun gets so hot, he will stand and pee on his own feet to cool it down. Jatta, this is so good. I'm glad you joined. I'm glad you finally made it. I can't wait to have you again.
Thank you for
And I
having
have
me.
a plan for you, because there's so many things we didn't talk about. Tell me
Okay.
you'll come back again.
I most certainly will.